welcome. So cool. This video is obviously on triangles. This is the first video of two that we'll be talking about the area of triangles. Remember that in the first video that I show of area, it's just basically trying to get across to you the formula, okay, and maybe some basic skills that you might need to have. It's the second video, the two, that's going to be a little bit more complicated, I think, for some people. It's going to require more algebra skills, so you know, get familiar with your algebra skills and your algebra concepts, okay? All right, to have success in the second version of these videos, you got to remember a formula. You need to know a formula, okay? I will re-emphasize that when we do the second video, but you need to know formulas. So anyway, getting back to what we're going to do today, this could very well be one of the shortest videos that I'll be doing here, because I'm just going to show you how to get the area of a triangle, and that's it. So I put a couple of, I was trying to search for things. What can I say about a triangle? Everybody knows what a triangle is, but I thought I would give a basic definition. So a triangle, or triangles, are two-dimensional polygons with three sides. I think everybody knows what a triangle is, but I thought I'd give it a go and give a definition. Something that I don't think a lot of people think about, but triangles are basically half of a quadrilateral. And that's kind of an important thing to know, because that's actually how we can derive the formula. If we know how to find the area of a quadrilateral, well, then a triangle will just be half of that. It's really key. Yeah, so anyway, if you guys want to write that down, this one might be kind of fun to have in your notes. All right, so I'll go ahead and get started. Again, this is going to be a quick video. So, lucky you. You don't have to listen to me talk forever, huh? Like I always tend to do. Okay, so first example I have. Well, before we get into that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about why a triangle is half a quadrilateral. Okay? We'll get to that. We'll get to the examples that I have, but I'm going to put a real typical quadrilateral, right? And I always tell my students a little story. And I say, my mom used to make me grilled cheese sandwiches when I was a kid. And so this is my little grilled cheese sandwich. It measures 4 inches by 4 inches, right? Grilled cheese, so good, right? Anyway, it's almost lunchtime, I'm getting hungry. As usual, right? Okay, but, so here's my grilled cheese that my mom would make me. But before she served it to me, and maybe before you serve your kids grilled cheese sandwich, or how your mom gives you a grilled cheese sandwich, how do you get it on the plate? Do you get it like this? Or do you get it cut into pieces? Well, I would venture to say that almost everybody's doing something with their hands, right? They're probably doing something, well, you know, something like that. I mean, you never see a mom cut, or a dad, cut a grilled cheese sandwich across this way, right? You just never see that. Why do they always, you know, why do they always cut it like this, like my mom would, or like, I'm sure everybody does. Dang near everybody. Why do we cut it like that? I don't know. My only theory on this, and this has nothing to do with math, but is that the angles, these little corners, like that little corner is small, and little small mouths can get around it easy, right? I don't know. That's what I think. I could be wrong. But of course, where would I take the first bite? Right here in the middle. Hump. Right? Where all the cheese was, you know, hump, just get right there in the middle, right? And get a whole bunch of, you know, stuff on my face and crumbs and whatnot. But I didn't care. That's where the cheese was, and that's what I was going after. So I had a goal. Go for the cheese. Okay, anyway. But let's talk about this a little bit more. Now back to geometry. We know how to get the area of a square. It's base times height, at least the way I was teaching you guys in the previous video. It's base times height. So, base times height. Right? And that would be 4 times 4, and that would be 16 inches squared. That would be the entire sandwich. But again, like I said, triangles are basically half of a quadrilateral, in this case a square. If it was a rectangle, blah blah, same thing. Blah blah blah, half of a quadrilateral. If it was a, do I have space down here? Yes. If it was a trapezoid, for example, a little bit more, like that, I guess. Yeah, something like that. And I cut it in half. That's a triangle, and that's a triangle. It's half. It's not very close to half though, is it? That one might not be half, but it's because it has two different bases. That's not the best example. I should have changed that. Sorry, don't look at this. Don't look at my shame. Okay, but for the most part, it's half of a quadrilateral. Anyway, I like to talk about that. I like to describe it like that because we can actually derive the formula. So we know how to get the area of the whole sandwich. And now, what do we do to get just this side of it? Just this little bottom triangle. We divide it by 2. We get the knife and we cut the sandwich in 2. And if we were really precise, it would be right down the middle and it would be exact. Right? To where this one would be 8 inches squared. And this one, I shouldn't do it like that. It's a little confusing. 8 inches squared, and this other one would be 8 inches squared. Right? Because we said that the whole thing was base times height. It's 16. So 8 inches and 8 inches squared is 16 inches squared. So this is why I like this formula. Because it reminds me of the grilled cheese sandwich. You have the whole sandwich, and then you get the knife and you cut it into 2, and you have 2 triangle halves. And that's why I like this formula. The book, or some books anyway, I should say, some books do this. They really like to emphasize the fraction. They really like to force you to multiply by 1/2, or to make sense of that. And of course, this could be 1/2 L times W, length times width. I'm not going to write that down, but just so you know that there are many ways of visualizing this. But it's basically half of a square, or half of the area of a four-sided shape that has this as its formula. I shouldn't have used trapezoid because trapezoid isn't base times height. But the parallelogram, it would be. The rectangle, it is. And also for the square, it is. So if the area of a shape is base times height, you can cut it in half and then you get the triangle version. And each one of those would be a half. Okay? So anyway, okay. So that's the formula right there. That's what I'm going to use. And we already did one example, like one triangle of the sandwich would be 8 inches squared. So I'll do one more. I'll do a couple more anyway. Let's see here. Okay, so let's say this one's 5, 8, and we'll go feet this time. Okay, feet. Now what the heck, I'll go ahead and put this one too. Alright, so if I ask for a perimeter, what would the perimeter be? How do you find the perimeter? Well, you have to add all 3 sides. So let's go ahead and do that. 10 plus 5 is 10, what? 5 plus 10 is 15. 15 plus 8 is 23, right? 23. So the perimeter, I might as well just write that down. We did it, so. Perimeter would be 23 feet. Not squared because perimeter is 1 dimension. Remember that. Okay, now area. Well, it's just like imagining it being a rectangle. Right? It's just the same kind of thing, but we only have half of that. And we already know how to find the area of a rectangle. It's base times height, length times width, whatever, this times that. But then we just cut it in half. Okay, that's it. So my formula is going to be base times height divided by 2. So the formula in blank would be like that. A little multiplication, we have 2 numbers that are going to be multiplied. So how do I know which one's the base and how do I know which one's the height? I might have mentioned this in the last video with rectangles and other quadrilaterals, but we're always looking for this square. We're always looking for the right angle. That right angle, again, I can never show that. The right angle, would be better like that. I don't know. Anyway, the right angle is what's going to really very clearly mark or define the length or the base and the width. The 2 lines that form that right angle, that little square right here, that's going to be your base and your height. That's going to be your length and your width, whatever you want to call it, okay? So I know I need to use the 8 and I know I need to use the 5 because these 2 lines make that right angle, and I know without a doubt those are the ones I need to use for my base and my height. Okay, so my base is 8, my height is 5, and that's it. Now I just got to do the operation. I multiply first. 8 times 5 is 40. And then 40 divided by 2 is 20. Okay, and that would be feet, I think I said, squared. Okay, feet squared. So area, 20 square feet or 20 feet squared, however you want to say it. Okay, and that's that. That's pretty much it, people. I mean, it's not rocket science, you know. We're just talking about 2 dimensions. We figured out why the formula is the way it is. Because basically a quadrilateral or a square rectangle or a parallelogram, not a trapezoid. Sorry about my mistake. And then it's cut in half. That's all it is. It's just cut in half. So I'll do one more. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same thing. We might as well be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Perimeter and area. Why don't you go ahead and take a shot at this? To pause the video for a second and just give it a go, right? Or maybe just do it right now in your head. Do it really, really quick. Boom, did you get it? You should have gotten it by now. I mean, the formula is right there. The numbers are pretty small, they're basic. All right, so perimeter would be the sum of all sides. Triangles have 3 sides, so I've got to add the exterior 3 sides to get perimeter. So that would be 7 plus 8 is 15, plus 10 is 25. Okay, so the perimeter would be, oops, and again, I always forget. Let's call this one inches. I always forget to put my units. But I think you guys are starting to understand that. That's a very typical thing that I tend to do. So anyway, perimeter is 25 inches. Now the area, let's focus more on the area. The area will be this formula. I'll start with it blank. Oops, I don't need parentheses. Okay. Something times something, base times height divided by 2. Cut that sandwich in half. Okay. So what's my base and what's my height? Again, look for that little square, right? Look for that little square right there. That's going to tell you which 2 lines are your base and your height. The 2 lines that make that square are your base and your height. Okay? So this bottom line, so basically we're looking at a line like this and a line like this, and my little square in the middle here. So this is the base, and this is the height. The 2 lines that make that right angle, that perpendicular angle, are your base and height. Okay? All right. I'll leave that there. So I need my 10 and I need my 6. 10 times 6 is 60. Divided by 2 is 30. Okay? I'll go ahead and put the answer over here, 30. Now I will have to take that away. 30 inches squared. All right? So that's pretty much it. I do have one quick example for you. On the board here. Okay. So why don't you pause the video and give it a go? Okay, give it a go, give it a go. See what you get. All right. So, what did you get? Did you get 40? Did you get 30? What'd you get? So well, we could do perimeter. I'm not going to worry about perimeter here. I'm just going to focus on area. Remember that I need the base, and I need the height, and then I multiply those, and I divide it by 2. What's my base and what's my height? It's a little bit counterintuitive here because the base and the height are not very straight up and down the way we're used to seeing it, right? In fact, that right angle is up here. So again, the 2 lines that make that right angle, that little box, in this case it's this one and this one, are the base and the height. You could imagine that the triangle could look like this. Smaller version of it, but 6, 8, and 10, for example. Where now that looks, okay, that looks like the base and now it looks like the height. But you got to be aware, they can put these things all over on you, okay? They can move them around, they can, on a test, you never know how it's going to come, right? So always go back to what you know, all right? We know that that little box, that little 90-degree angle means base and height. The 2 lines that form that, whichever orientation they're in, is going to be the base and the height. Okay, so cool. So base times height divided by 2, and without the letters it's like this. My base could be 8 or 6, it doesn't matter. I'm going to multiply them anyway. 6 times 8 is the same as 8 times 6. So I'll go ahead and put the 6 as the base, what the heck. And the 8 as the height, the 6 is the length, the 8 as the width, whatever you want, okay. So 6 times 8 is 48. And I've always remembered that one since I was a kid because it rhymes. 6 times 8 is 48. All right. And then divided by 2 is 24. All right, so 24 feet squared. That's supposed to be an FT. Okay, I'm sorry if it doesn't look like an FT. It's supposed to be an FT. So 24, okay, dang it. You can't even. There, a little better. Anyway, so 24 feet squared is the area of the triangle, okay? So again, not a very difficult video. One basic concept. Later on though, when we're doing algebra with these, you gotta know the formula. So try to remember a formula, write down your little note, a note in your notebook. This is the one I want to use for triangles, okay? This is one I want to use for, what was it, square, rectangle, and parallelogram. Don't forget those, okay? Those are really important. And if you can memorize the formulas, the algebra component won't be so difficult. Okay, so I'll catch you on the flip.